This video will be examining two different falcon species that in many ways are very similar to each other and yet also very different. The LANNER falcon is a medium to large sized falcon found throughout various habitats, from the Mediterranean to parts of sub-Saharan Africa, a species that is well recognised throughout the history of falconry itself. The very similar looking LUGGER falcon, however, is a comparatively less well recognised bird as a whole, and is also only found in India and a few other neighbouring countries. This video will examine the ecological similarities and differences between these two birds, as well as discussing the use of these falcon species within the sport of falconry. Before we dive into this video, however, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. As previously mentioned, the LANNER falcon is a medium to large sized falcon, one of the better known species after the infamous peregrine. It is recognised as being part of the subgenus known as hierofalcons, which includes other larger species of falcons including gerfalcons, falcons, and of course the LUGGER falcon, as we'll discuss later. Research about the taxonomy of larger falcon species suggests that in terms of phylogenetics, the LANNER falcon is likely the most ancient or basal of all the larger falcon species we know of. In the wild, the LANNER falcon is quite the widespread species, with its range including parts of the Mediterranean as well as parts of North, Central and South Africa. In certain parts of its range, the LANNER falcon has long been associated with early human cultures, especially in ancient Egypt, where the image of a falcon represented an ancient deity, particularly the Egyptian god Horus. Throughout their respective range in the wild, the LANNER falcon has 5 recognised subspecies, each differing slightly in habitat and appearance. For example, LANNER falcons found in Europe, particularly the Mediterranean, have an especially pale, almost completely white underside, where the black markings on their chest resemble a heart shape, as opposed to the barring seen on peregrines. The dorsal side of these particular birds can also adopt a somewhat bluish-grey hue, which again can sometimes be confused for that of some peregrines. However, like most lanners, these individuals retain the striking orangey-brown cap on their heads and also the distinctive malar stripe. In contrast, individual lanners seen in Central and Southern Africa have a comparatively more dusty appearance both above and below, as seen in both adults and juveniles. They still retain the distinctive orange cap and malar stripe of the lanner, but they have a comparatively more orangey or pinkish underside, especially in adult birds, with comparatively little to few markings as compared to the European lanners. In parts of Northern Africa, however, in areas of super-arid desert, especially near Egypt, lives perhaps the most extreme looking of all lanners, the Elangeri subspecies. These are exceptionally pale LANNER falcons in terms of coloration, with very pale white undersides and very little coloration on the top of their heads in contrast to other subspecies. This almost makes them look like a LANNER falcon equivalent of a white gerfalcon. Having such pale coloration is likely related to the bird's habitat, being able to reflect excess sun rays and therefore dissipating heat, enabling these birds to withstand the incredibly harsh and hot conditions at the edge of the Sahara. In terms of size, LANNER falcons are on average slightly smaller than most peregrines, although there is some variation considering how many various subspecies of peregrines there are in the world. But LANNER falcons also differ ever so slightly from peregrines in terms of their build. Compared to most peregrines, lanners seem marginally more lightweight and elegant in their build, with comparatively longer secondary feathers and also longer tail feathers. These very long-winged and long-tailed falcons are exceptionally manoeuvrable and buoyant in their flight, and while not as fast as peregrines, are still exceptionally quick on the wing, even if it isn't as much of a mass base in comparison. LANNER falcons are quite the generalistic hunters and hunt a wide range of different animals as well as just birds. In certain parts of Africa, however, they do hunt quite a lot of birds in comparison to other areas within their range. These are frequently captured using a variety of different attack styles. They can stoop on prey like a peregrine can, albeit with not quite the same level of speed, although a lanner could certainly reach at least over 100 miles per hour in a dive or stoop if they wanted to. Lanner falcons will also directly pursue birds in level flight, where they will often tail chase flocks of smaller birds until being able to catch them in mid-air. And they will also fly low over open areas of ground in the savannah, for example, to catch birds drinking at waterholes unawares, almost like an accipiter. Avian prey taken by lanner falcons in the wild includes various songbirds, such as these red-billed quelea, doves, pigeons, and also, most infamously, the sand grouse. This particular family of birds is very well adapted to living in the arid conditions of northern Africa and parts of the Middle East, for they are physically quite tough birds in their own regard, and are also very adept and swift flyers. They are hunted by wild lanner falcons within their native range, although they are quite the challenge to capture for these birds, and are also one of the more challenging prey items for a falconry lanner falcon to pursue and successfully capture. Birds are not the only prey items lanner falcons are known to pursue, however. They will also capture a wide range of other small animals, including small rodents. Many individuals also have a particular taste for small lizards and other reptiles, such as this Euromastix lizard, one of their favoured foods. Anyone who's tried capturing small lizards, myself included, knows how difficult it is, for these small reptiles can move surprisingly fast and can quickly take cover in a rock crevice, for example. Lanner falcons, however, having a comparatively more buoyant flight than some other larger falcons, are more than capable of manoeuvring and pouncing on such small prey with surprising ease, something which most other falcons tend to overlook. Having a comparatively more lightweight build, along with long primary and secondary feathers on their wings, and also longer tail feathers to act as brakes, enables lanner falcons to manoeuvre over smaller patches of ground and still be able to hunt such small prey along with fast-moving avian prey, which other larger, faster falcons are more specialised for, further enabling the lanner falcon to exploit a different kind of food niche within its respected habitat. Overall, the lanner falcon is a beautiful and powerful hunter, a highly resourceful and adaptable predator able to thrive in some of the harshest environments, and earn its place as an iconic species in the eyes of certain ancient cultures. The lugger falcon is a species very similar in appearance and size to the aforementioned lanner falcon, but in terms of its temperament and in many ways its ecology, it is actually quite a different bird. Also part of the subgenus known as the hierofalcons, the lugger falcon, also known as the LAGGER falcon, is comparatively more restricted in its range compared to the lanner falcon. In the wild, the stronghold of this species' range is in India, with individuals also being seen in areas such as Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and a few other locations nearby. In the past, lugger falcons used to be the most common species of falcon in these areas, but their numbers have sadly declined in recent times due to human-related activities. At first glance, these falcons appear extremely close to the lanner falcon in terms of appearance, for they are extremely similar in size, and they share the lanner falcon's comparatively more elegant build compared to other species, as well as the very long wingtips and tail, with some mature birds having the presence of an orangey cap on their head, which is almost as vibrant as some lanner falcons. Unlike lanner falcons, however, lugger falcons are not usually recognised as being part of multiple different subspecies, and therefore their plumage variations are not quite as diverse. In their first year, juvenile birds can look extremely dark in coloration, sometimes being mistaken for a small saker falcon. As seen by this individual, they have an almost completely dark underside, with traces of lighter coloration under their tail and around their face, though they still retain a malar stripe. Mature lugger falcons, while not as dark as juvenile birds, are still comparatively darker than most lanners, with dark underwings and dark tibiotarsus or trouser feathers running along their flanks. Mature lugger falcons also have traces of an orangey-brown cap on their head, reminiscent of some LANNER falcons, though the intensity of this coloration does vary from individual to individual and is not always as vibrant as most LANNERs. As a falcon that often inhabits quite arid conditions in parts of Asia, these resourceful and tenacious falcons live a similar kind of lifestyle to the LANNER falcons inhabiting more arid areas of Africa, for example, though still with some crucial differences. Like LANNER falcons, lugger falcons are somewhat unfussy eaters and are quite happy to hunt small birds as well as small rodents given the chance, and even larger insects. However, like certain LANNER falcon populations, and maybe to an even greater extent, their favoured foods appear to be lizards, particularly the spiny-tailed lizard, which these falcons will often approach low over the ground at high speed and strike before the reptiles can reach safety. Lugger falcons appear to have a very similar wing to body weight ratio or wing loading to LANNER falcons, as well as being very similar in size. However, lugger falcons are noted to be, especially by falconers, as often slightly more tenacious birds than LANNER falcons when it comes to hunting or flying, being able to fly at least as fast or maybe even marginally faster. It should also be emphasised that although LANNERs and luggers are not as fast as the dynamic peregrine falcon by any means in a stoop, they are certainly not slow-flying birds at all. In fact, lugger falcons, including this particular individual filmed here, have been detected thanks to microsensory technology to be able to reach at least 90 to 100 miles per hour, a feat that certainly puts the other name of her species, lagger falcon, to shame, considering the former name suggests a bird that moves very slowly. The surprising speed of this species, combined with its tenacity and also to some extent its intelligence and cunning, makes this bird a force to be reckoned with. Both LANNER falcons and lugger falcons are used in falconry, especially here in the UK. Between these two species, however, the LANNER falcon is usually the more frequently used and also the more popular, as they are usually quite mild-mannered birds and very amicable, making them easy to train and also reliable for flying. They are also considered to be an ideal species for flying to the lure, as they are less likely to be distracted chasing passing pigeons, for example, than species like a peregrine. In terms of temperament, lugger falcons have a reputation of often being slightly more aggressive or sometimes even cantankerous than some LANNER falcons, which can make them slightly trickier birds to work with on occasion. However, their tenacious aerial prowess is certainly worth it, and they are also surprisingly cunning and intelligent birds, and learn very quickly. The talons and feet of both LANNER and lugger falcons are very similar in proportion and size, for their foot span is not as wide nor their toes as long as peregrines, and their toes are also not as thick and robust as those of gerfalcons or saker falcons. This largely reflects the hunting lifestyle of these falcons, as they are largely generalistic, able to hunt both birds and also mammals along with reptiles, whereas shorter, thicker toes are somewhat more advantageous, though they seem to be somewhat intermediate between more mammal-hunting sakers and gers and bird-hunting peregrines. Larger falcons kill their prey by striking it hard in a high-speed attack using their taloned feet, and luggers and LANNERs are certainly no exception, with notably strong legs and feet designed to withstand such forces. In terms of true falconry, that is using a bird of prey to actually hunt wild game, both of these falcons have been hunted with in various locations, with mixed success hunting different quarry. LANNERs can be successfully trained to hunt small birds including partridges, quail, sand grouse and doves, and lugger falcons could probably hunt much the same, along with smaller corvids, for example. While many will attest that both of these species lack the prey range nor the hunting repertoire along with the speed and increased size of birds such as peregrines or gers, both of these falcon species can still prove to be spectacular and effective flyers and hunters in their own respect. And like almost any falconry bird, with optimum fitness and individual experience over time, they can do incredible things once they reach their full potential. Overall, LANNER falcons and LUGGER falcons are both beautiful and amazing birds in their own regard, and it just goes to show that two very similar looking species can be surprisingly different in various different ways on second glance. Before we finish this video, however, here is a quick plea for the LUGGER falcon species as a whole. As mentioned earlier on in this video, LUGGER falcon populations are threatened in the wild, unfortunately, due to various human-related activities. If you wish to learn more about LUGGER falcons and their situation in the wild, as well as how you can help, visit the Project LUGGER website online. I've put the link in the description so you can examine it for yourselves. Hopefully, with an increased understanding of this species and supporting conservation efforts, wild populations of this species of falcon may recover in the future. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it interesting and learned something new. Until next time, I'll see you all in the next one.